Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to wherever you may be, or whatever time you may be watching this. Welcome to the 7th episode of the LVM podcast. My name is Rebecca Benny, and today I will be talking about the different perspectives regarding my mother's murder. Before I start this video, I do want to put out a trigger warning because some of the information that I'll be talking about is sensitive, and just for anyone that does have a similar situation, I would just like you to be aware of that beforehand. So in this video, I will be talking about my mother's perspective and her killer's perspective, and towards the end of the video, I will be discussing just a few things that have gotten me through this event in my life. My mother's perspective and her killer's perspective do kind of intertwine a little bit, so there might be a little bit overlapping, but I'm going to start off with my mother's perspective first. So, just to know a little bit about like where she was before, she passed, or before she died. She was with her family. She went to an event with them, and I'm not sure. I don't know if it was the day of that like she died or if it was the day before, but I know, within those moments she was with them. I didn't see her a few days beforehand, so honestly, like, the whole time frame is kind of a bit foggy for me. I don't really remember it that well, but she was with her family, and actually she was not supposed to be at work that night because she was off and she was supposed to spend the rest of that weekend with them. But I think beforehand he convinced her somehow to go to work that night. I'm not sure what he said. I'm not sure how he convinced her, but she did go into work that night. So pretty much that whole day while she was out with her family, he kept texting her, like, just to make sure that she's coming in, just repeatedly. So going to his perspective, he obviously planned this months ahead before. He needed money, or he wanted money to provide for his family, and I guess he was just plotting how to do that. And he went around to the homeless people that lived around the store that my mom worked, and he went up to them and told them his plan, saying that I'm planning to rob the store, will you join me? And they all agreed to that, but then he said, we have to kill her. And they were like, oh, we don't want to be a part of that, like, that's not what I'm signing up for. And obviously they did not agree to that, so they didn't show up to steal anything from her. But yeah, it's just kind of weird, because he did all that just for a couple $100 that obviously that he did not get. And a little funny side note, I don't know if it's funny, but still, either way, an ironic side note is that he was actually fired beforehand, but my mother was the one that gave him that second chance, just to like prove himself to do better. Honestly, I don't know like about her work relationship with him specifically. I don't know if they had like some beef going on. That's something I will never know. Only her coworkers know. And sometimes I feel like a lot of people within homicide cases will always wonder, why did this happen? Why did this happen to, my loved one? And I'm not gonna say I didn't think about that. The obvious answer is that she was the only female manager there, so he saw her as an easy target to overtake. And I guess just because of the person she was, she was never the type of person to like ask for help, but she did always stand up for herself. She never really was afraid of anyone, even though like you would see like a smaller person as more timid. She always, did what she could for herself. Like even after the investigation and after finding him, they did find cuts on his arms, proving that she did fight for herself. But there was a pizza store next door, and they asked if they heard anything, around this time that the incident did happen, and they said they didn't hear anything. They didn't hear her screaming. So I'm assuming, like, obviously she did fight for herself, but it didn't seem like she was calling out for help for whatever reason. But, everyone does things differently on their own. And, the fact that he, chose her as an easy target because he could take over her, obviously, he was able to accomplish that, but at what cost, like, you were stressed out over money and you were stressed out to provide for your family, but you're taking that out on one person, and to stab them over like 40 times. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Because yeah, that's something else. That sounds more than stress to me. Like, she wasn't the one interfering with him getting money. Obviously she gave him the second chance to make money, to provide for his family. So if anything, she was the one helping him. Like, if you wanted to rob, then that's on you. You were doing something wrong. And, work more hours. Like, okay. But anyways, honestly. And also, I don't know if this is related to or not. But I did hear that he was, like, part of, like, certain gangs at his home. No judgment. I understand everyone has a different upbringing, but maybe that also that plays a part in his upbringing and how he saw things and how to solve things. I will never know. So I want to get into the perspective of losing someone to homicide. Now, I believe that, death is a part of life. It's inevitable. It's a circle of life. It's just how it is. You're born into this world, and then we leave this world. It's how it goes. And I do also believe that, a lot of people do die of natural causes. And no, I'm not saying that you can't grieve someone who's dying of a natural cause, because a loss is a loss at the end of the day, and losing a loved one is never easy. What I am saying is that homicide is so all of a sudden, and losing a loved one by the hands of someone else. It's just, a totally different experience. Any type of loss is a different experience. So I'm just showing how homicide is different. I feel like for the majority of people who have lost a loved one to homicide, they have a lot of things rushing to their mind, a lot of questions that they want answered. And I feel like one of the questions include, like, was this meant to happen? Like, or, was this their destiny? I feel like death is inevitable and people are meant to die anyways. Like, was that the way they were supposed to leave this world? I don't want to say that this was like the majority of my thoughts, and I can't really say that it didn't pop up in my mind. It probably did. But I do want to share a message that her priest was talking about during her funeral, which was that God did not plan for my mother to be killed. God didn't plan for anyone to be killed in this world. But for those who are affected, especially the survivors of these victims, God does provide a plan for them to get through it. Regardless of the plans that we have in our lives, I don't want anyone trying to blame themselves for whatever has happened to their loved ones because it's not their fault. I know guilt is a huge factor in what a lot of us feel. We are all better than what has happened to us. And although it may be hard to not let it, just take over our lives because it's the new reality that we have to deal with. But we can come out better than what has happened to us. A lot of us just want to shut that part out of our lives because, it's just really overwhelming. But, we don't have to make it overwhelming. The more that we all share our story and come together as a community, we're able to show other people that this is really important for others to know, to raise awareness. And, I do want to say that, regardless if you have faith in a higher power or not, there is a plan for you in life. And you're able to take that into your own hands to make something out of it. I want to say that I'm not really at peace, with the whole situation regarding my mom. But, although we weren't close, it makes me just a little relieved to know that she was at least, with her family, the ones that she came to this country with, in her last few moments of her life. Personally, I wouldn't have it any other way. I do have my own little regrets in life, which, I will get into later, but, at least she was able to be with them because I know she wasn't able to spend time with them years beforehand. So, yeah, I feel like personally for me, God really looked out on many different occasions. I do not blame God for any of this because at the end of the day, that man was in charge of his own actions and he knew what he was doing. So yeah, if you were inspired by this video, if this video really helped you, please subscribe and like this video if it did. If you're listening to this on a podcast streaming platform, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you guys will continue to join me on sharing my journey of losing my mother to homicide. And I hope all of you will help me raise homicide awareness. I hope to see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye.